Well, it's the first time in Division Series history that all teams are tied 1-1 with 2 games under their belt. We are going to recap the American League games last night, talk about the National League games on deck for today. Wednesday, all of the teams are playing. It's going to be so fun. We're going to get into a few Rangers news and something new coming to Arlington on the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Doing the splits, that's right, indeed. Heck of a few games in the American League the other day. We're going to get into it. Abby Jones alongside Jeff Wilson, J-Dub, and then we have our producer, Mr. Elijah the Prophet. Thank you guys for tuning in to the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Good news, John Radigan will be back tomorrow, but help us get through this podcast. Be sure to jump in on the chat. We want to hear from you and talk about this postseason run so far.
John who?
John Radigan.
Oh, that's right. He's been in Michigan, so he might have a pulse for what it's like heading into this. Today's a travel day, but going into Game 3 and what their Detroit City reaction was to the Tigers' big win yesterday. So curious to hear what John has to say from the scene, as you will. But yeah, those are some good ball games yesterday, especially the first one. I mean, like my favorite kind of postseason game is what happened in Cleveland. It's really low scoring, good defense, great pitching, and then a hero emerges in Kerry Carpenter, and to do it against the best closer in the game is striking. And what a game! And now all these series are even. I guess the advantage kind of shifts now to the underdogs in all the series. If they can win at home, good news.
It's the first time that the postseason will be back at Comerica Park since 2014. So
2014,
Detroit
all right.
fans are loving this. I actually read the Ilitch family is planning some sort of parade. They're going to pass out rally towels.
Oh.
So we've talked about how vocal, how excited, how just fired up that Detroit fans can be for some playoff baseball.
Yeah, and the Rangers and the Tigers played in the 2011 ALCS, and the series ended up going back to Texas after the 3 games in Detroit. Nelson Cruz was the hero of that whole series, really, but he hit a big home run in one of those games for the Rangers. There's a game that was delayed by rain. There's a game in which Justin Verlander pitched, which was the game that the Tigers won of those 3. But yeah, Detroit really embraces its teams. When you see it a lot with hockey, the Lions have been so bad for a number of years, but now that they're good, you're seeing that fan base swell again, and it's I know the Red Wings have been so successful here in the last, let's say, couple decades hockey-wise, but the Tigers are 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
And they're one of maybe not the original baseball teams, but they've been around since forever.
Mm-hmm.
With Ty Cobb, that's their first great player. And Charlie Gehringer and recently Miguel Cabrera. So I mean, there's a long list of great Detroit Tigers. And some good Tigers teams in there. So it's always good when it's good. It's good for baseball when the Yankees are good, but it's good for baseball when teams like Detroit and Cleveland are good. Give these small market teams something. Although the Tigers will spend like a major market team, but give them something to put attention on them. But then also get people to realize that baseball happens in places other than New York and Los Angeles.
Very true. Very true. Coop said, play hard, have fun. That's the acronym my pop came up with. That is what this division series round has looked like. Let's take a look at Tarik Skubal yesterday, on pace to win the Cy Young. He has been ridiculous in his 2 starts now. Combined 13 innings pitched, just 7 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 14 strikeouts. Tarik Skubal in the regular season is dangerous. Tarik Skubal postseason is on another planet.
Yeah, Cleveland had chances against him, but he figured out a way. Great pitchers, they can make a pitch when they need to make a pitch. And he got a couple double play ground balls that were huge in that game. And then he came back out in the 7th and just mowed down the heart of the Cleveland order. He can kind of lull you to sleep at 92, 93, and then pow, he throws a fastball 99, and you're kind of like, holy crap, where did that come from? So, it is good to see that the guy who's going to win the Cy Young is continuing his success in the postseason. And of course, Cy Young voting is regular season only, so all the votes were submitted, mine included. But to see him continue his dominance, it's refreshing to see. Sometimes you see some guys fall apart in the postseason, and that is not the case with him. So he kind of set the tone, and then Kerry Carpenter against Emmanuel Clase. First of all, Clase got the last out of the 8th in a big spot. Came out, and it looked like he was going to kind of breeze through the 9th, and the game was going to extra innings, and it just didn't work out that way. And one thing I wanted to look at that I finally did here moments ago, Emmanuel Clase went more than an inning only once this year. Okay. And then in 2023, he only did it twice. So that's foreign territory for him. He threw a lot of pitches. He had to sit down and wait between an inning, and that's a big deal for a reliever. And that's one thing that Kirby Yates talked about when talking about David Robertson this year was, for a guy to get multiple outs or pitch multiple innings, get more than 3 outs. It's a big deal for a reliever. It's hard to do. Yates did it himself, but Robertson became an expert at it. So maybe it's something that Clase didn't have practice at. He also threw Carpenter 3 straight sliders.
Yep.
In that at bat, and the third one hung and got hit a mile. So I don't know. And they'd switched catchers too.
Yes.
From the 8th to the 9th inning, with our buddy Austin Hedges getting taken out of the game. So I wonder if that might have had an effect. Maybe Austin, who's like a defensive specialist, might have seen a scanner report differently. A base was open, so maybe at that point, a guy's battling. It looks like even against the best closer in the world, maybe it's not going to work out for you. So maybe you kind of pitch around him there and face a right-handed hitter. So I don't know what transpired there between pitcher, catcher, and strategy and whatnot. I know what transpired was Kerry Carpenter hit a huge 3-run homer, and the Tigers won, and now this series is up for grabs.
Right, and it was probably, arguably, undoubtedly, the home run of Kerry Carpenter's career, but it's one of the best in Tigers history. I mean, I remember the 2006 ALCS Game 4 with Maglio Ordonez.
Yeah, that was a big one.
That 9th inning homer.
Yeah.
I still watch the highlight every year just because that's got to be, me and my brother send it to each other around this time every year. But he joins Maglio Ordonez, ALLCITY as the only Tigers with a go-ahead home run in the 9th inning or later in a playoff game. So if you're Kerry Carpenter, that's great company to be a part of.
Yeah.
And just to do it on Emmanuel Clase, like we said, one of the best relief pitchers in the game, and just shocking that he got pulled out of that situation. You just don't expect Clase to not be able to
finish it.
To finish that at bat, or really.
Well, and the next batter hit a grounder to first, and Clase didn't get over to cover the base in time. Right. So he was clearly distracted by it, and at that point he'd thrown a ton of pitches, so no need to keep him in there. Even though today's an off day for both teams, go ahead and get him out. And ALLCITY, wow. I mean, hello, Hall of Famer, 3,000 hits.
He celebrated in the clubhouse with the Tigers too when they clinched.
Yeah, he's still
definitely around.
I think he passed, didn't he?
No.
No?
Oh, Kalen?
Yeah, he passed away a few years ago.
I thought I was in the clubhouse. Who did I see a photo of?
I don't know, but it wasn't Al Kaline.
I'll look.
But
Okay.
anyway, he was a beloved Tiger, but like it was hanging around the club right until the final days. I remember seeing him at Comerica before. Friendly guy, and but yeah, you can go like to the late '60s with Denny McClain, that Cardinals Tigers World Series where Bob Gibson was so good, but the Tigers ended up winning. And then the '84 team, Kirk Gibson and Lou Whitaker and Alan Trammell and Jack Morris, who's in the Hall of Fame now. So there have been some great Tigers teams, and this one really doesn't have that kind of star power on it, although it looks like Skubal is emerging into one of the best pitchers in baseball. But
yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of this series unfolds, and then the Royals won and won at Yankee Stadium, and now they're going back to Kauffman to have a shot.
Yeah.
I mean they really honest and truly have a shot to knock out the top seeded Yankees, and that would be a huge deal.
All the teams really do have an opportunity because the series are all split. Cole Reagan's, it was a shorter outing for him. He only went through the lineup twice, didn't get to face the top of the order for a third time. 5 strong innings with bullpen relief, so you like that coming from the Royals. As far as the Yankees, their starter didn't go as long as they wanted him to.
Yeah. Rodon gave up the runs pretty quick.
Yeah.
Reagan's was a little off. He walked 4. So you kind of, that's a little bit unusual for him, not characteristic of what he usually does. But, and again, in the postseason, when you have a lead and you have a bullpen that's fresh, you're not gonna waste any time. You're gonna go to the bullpen and get it done. And the Royals did, and good for them. A 4-2 victory. That guarantees at least another game of Yankees baseball, which I'm sure the TV people are thrilled about. Just good. And really they're doing it without Bobby Witt Jr., who
he struggled.
Is 0 for 9 in the series, and he sunk one of my sleeper bets yesterday.
Okay.
I made 7 picks, and I got 6 of them right, but not that one. It was total bases. I just needed him to get 2 measly singles or 1 double. But Bobby, the local boy here, always rooting for that guy because he's a good kid too, and has great family and all of that. But so now Seth Lugo, who arguably is the Royals' best starter, he had a terrific season. He's going to start Game 3, and the Yankees are going to go with a guy Clark Schmidt, who missed most of the season. So you kind of think, hey, maybe this is advantage Royals.
So if they take the edge and go up 2-1, playing Game 4 at home, they're 25-6 in division season history. So they have pretty good odds. And if the Yankees split 2 in KC, then they'll have Garrett Cole, or we'll see Carlos again on the mound for the winner-take-all Game 5 scenario.
Yeah.
And I had to look it up because it was going to bother me. Alan Trammell.
Oh, Alan Trammell. Yeah. You're right. Alan Trammell, who is also in the Hall of Fame. Lou Whitaker not in the Hall of Fame, which drives a lot of people crazy. A great second baseman, and those two played together forever. And really,
I had to correct it, though, because I'm like, no, I know that.
And really, you can't think about the Tigers without those two, especially in the 70s and 80s. So this is good stuff. If you want drama and if you want, parody or whatever it is you want, if you're a playoff fan and tight contests, this is what you're getting. I mean, it's not just the American League; it's both leagues. We'll get into the National League in a little bit here.
And Coop said pitching chaos. Yes, with the Tigers, but maybe even more so with the Yankees. 8 pitchers yesterday.
Yeah, well,
oh my gosh,
that's what happens when the bullpens are fresh and you have a day off the next day, and you feel like that's a game you really need to win. Then you're going to
throw every scenario that you can.
Pull out all stops.
Yes. The next time that you could see Skubal is Game 5. If it goes that far, we'll see. But no, this is going to be a really fun playoffs.
It should be.
If this round
it's already been fun.
Is any indication of what is to come with the World Series, I mean, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's good
also,
stuff.
I think that you have to mention just the two, people kind of leading MVP conversation, Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt Jr., they collectively have done nothing in the postseason. So who do you think out of the two is going to have a breakout game?
Well, Bobby's going home, and he hits really well at Kauffman. So I would lean toward Mr. Witt on that one.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Well, we have more coming up. We're going to talk about some Rangers offseason updates and injuries and more on that on the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
Hey, let me tell you about Empire Today real fast. Flooring experts, whether it's hardwoods or whether it's carpet. If you need flooring, they're the people to go to. You get shop-at-home convenience. You can find the right product for what you need. Quick and professional installation and a low price guarantee. It's the best place to get new flooring. There's going to be copycats out there, but if you want the best, you go to the best, and that's Empire Today. The best thing they have, in my view, is they have a virtual floor designer. That's a great way to get the floors that look at any space of your house just right there on your phone. And they also service their own warranties. So that's a big deal. The people who are putting it in are doing the replacement. You don't have to get two different opinions. You're going to be going with the people who are best. So schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners can receive a $350 off discount when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/DLLS for details.
Perfect. And our friends at Shady Rays hooked us up, everyone here, with some pretty nice sunglasses. Jeff is looking into their prescription sunglasses as well. They do have polarized options, but they really have so many different styles, a ton of frames. You can get your team colors on the frames if you wanted to. We're trying to talk Radigan into some powder blue for the Sunday games, but with the roof, might not need it too much. But no, Shady Rays, great quality, affordable price. They're basically indestructible. I don't know if you've
I haven't tried to destroy mine, but maybe I will.
If you put them through the ringer, they will stand the test of time. So Shady Rays, our friends gave us a 35% discount, which is very generous.
Very.
If you use the code DLLS, and you can go to shadyrays.com, enter that in, and get your discount. All right, now let's talk about some Rangers. I mean, this is a Rangers podcast, so let's get into some Rangers baseball. We're bringing you all off-season content. We're so excited that the winter meetings are in Dallas. We're going to be doing something hopefully very exclusive and bring you the latest updates. But, Jeff, what's the latest here?
Well, first, a confession. I do not like it when the winter meetings are in Dallas.
Okay.
If I have to go stay in a hotel for 3 straight days and don't go outside and breathe the air, I want hotel points and airline miles. I want to have to travel for them. I want to be rewarded for my having to breathe recirculated air for 24 hours a day. But they are in Dallas, and I'm glad because you and John get to join me. And quite frankly, the last time they were in Dallas was 2011, and that is when my wife told me that she was pregnant with our son. So anyway, some decent memories. But the winter meetings are going to be the first week of December, so there's time. There will be the general manager meetings in early November. Those are in San Antonio this year. I will not be attending those because I will be in New York City for a little family vacation. But basically, right now, the Rangers are getting ready for those 2 events. And what they're doing is that they're meeting internally. They're discussing possible scenarios, evaluating their own players. For instance, can they do better than Nathaniel Lowe or Adolis Garcia? Just as an example. And here's something to remember in the offseason. Pretty much nobody is untouchable. It was in the 2008 winter meetings, which are in Las Vegas, when Nolan Ryan created a bit of a stir when he said that the Rangers would consider a trade for Josh Hamilton, who at the time was coming off this fantastic season, his first with the Rangers. And so it kind of opened some eyes when Nolan said that, but it's kind of true. If you get made the right offer, on anybody. You're going to entertain it, and so the Rangers are being very open. Chris Young said it last week about how they're going to ways to improve the club. The biggest issue still that hasn't been settled is the TV contract and the money situation. And it sounds like they're kind of they have an idea of what they want to do, but until they get all their sponsors lined up and all that jazz, they may not have a certainty on the budget. Maybe they can project something and ask the ownership group to make an expenditure to get paid back on the backside. I don't know how any of that crap works.
But the latest on the TV deal is the team's looking to kind of create something in-house.
Yeah,
in-house
or
broadcast?
at least.
And is that different than MLB?
That would be
different.
Yeah, that would be different. So, basically the options are the Rangers producing and distributing their games, or MLB producing and distributing the games. MLB, of course, would come in cheaper. You could probably make more money doing it yourself if you have the right people who are out there getting the advertisements and putting the packages together and negotiating with the cable companies and whatnot. The Rangers also are heavily leaning toward doing a game over the air, a free game of the week, if you will, for the people who have been without Rangers baseball for so long, unable to watch it. So that's a possibility. It'd be a marketing tool, if you will, to get people to come out, expose them to the product and what they've been missing for a number of years, and get them out to the ballpark. But that's still the big question. As all these meetings are taking place and they're getting ready to, scouts are getting ready to make their recommendations to the front office and to ownership. The question is, well, how much money do they have to spend? Mm-hmm. Scouts can make their recommendations. They've been scouting other teams in anticipation of the off season and potential trade targets. It's kind of interesting how they can target guys on teams that you may not think of that could be available via trade. And it's not just like the White Sox, the crappy teams. It's usually teams that are even some teams that might be in contention, like some small market teams that are in contention, like what the Orioles and the Brewers were able to accomplish last year with Corbin Burns changing hands. So there's a lot of scenarios out there, but again, the big issue is the money. And if you remember from last week, Chris Young was going to meet with ownership in a couple weeks. So probably this week, hopefully, get an idea of what the payroll is going to look like and how they're going to move forward. They're going to have their pro scouting meetings. When everybody comes together and they huddle in the conference room for 2 or 3 days and just look at their own team first, and then look at possibilities out there, free agents and trades. So it's nothing that's going to be in the headlines. Maybe stuff will come out of the pro scouting meetings, depending on access. But it's stuff that they're just doing, laying low here. One thing Major League Baseball does not like is for a team to do something major during the postseason to distract from the postseason. That's why, when Bruce Bochy was hired, managerial hires are a little bit different because the clubs have to do it, but they try to announce them on off days so that it doesn't distract from the big show in this case, which is MLB's postseason.
Bobby Witt going 0 for 9.
Whatever. They don't want to distract from that.
Yeah.
But I
get it.
I would think that we won't hear anything until the 5 days after the World Series, when a lot of things happen. Players become free agents. Players and clubs have to decline options or accept options, and then then it's the qualifying offer time. I don't think the Rangers are going to have anybody they'd offer to this year. So, but a bunch of things happen. You got to clean up the roster. All that stuff starts happening right in the beginning of November, or right after the World Series ends. Those first 2 weeks are generally a pretty busy time on the transaction wire. But right now, it's just behind the scenes, figuring out what they're going to do. Trying to course several different routes through the postseason or the off season, and it's not exciting, but it's critical for a team that wants to contend next year and doesn't know the money yet. They have to go a couple different avenues for now, and they're just mapping it out.
Coop asks, don't the Dodgers and the Yankees have their own RSN? We've seen plenty of baseball teams that aren't a part of the Bally contract. I mean, I came from Bally. I know that we have majority of Major League Baseball teams, but there are some other teams that have their own network.
Yeah. The Yankees have the Yes Network, and I think the Yes Network, also does
They do the Nets.
Brooklyn Nets, and the New York Liberty, the women's, the WNBA team. Nesson, Boston has Nesson. I think that the Orioles have their own Nesson and Messon. And then yes, the Dodgers have their own. The Mariners have their own, and they're running into
Rockies
trouble with
have their
distribution. So it's a tough game right now. Trying to get it on cable and get it on streaming services. The people who've cut the cord, and the people who refuse to do so. It's tough, but you do get all the money. But if you can't get the deals done, then nothing.
But it's not like the Rangers are the only team going through this.
No. They're not. And there's one Yes. Yes has been around for a long, long time, and that has allowed the Yankees to have a big payroll. It's a very successful network, but they have partners. That's the thing that I was talking about yesterday. Sure would be nice if the Rangers and Stars and Mavs had been able to come together and form this regional sports network with tons of inventory, year-round broadcasts, live broadcasts and fresh content. I don't think anybody wants to watch, no offense to the Rangers, their game from May 20th, a replay of that. How many times can you replay their best games? And I'm sure that they would probably be able to work out a deal with Major League Baseball to replay games from 2023 and the playoff run and all that stuff. But nevertheless, it's kind of like the old Longhorn Network, or maybe it still exists. But how many times can you watch the 2005 Rose Bowl, before you get tired of it? So I think that it's a headache. It really is. But of the options, it looks like even for a while going back to Diamond or Bally was an option, but that doesn't appear to be the case anymore. With Bally dropping, I think 11 of the remaining 12 they have contracts with, or maybe they'll renegotiate for less, but that seems like just a non-starter. So it's going to be
in-house.
The Rangers do it, or Major League Baseball does it. And if it was Major League Baseball, it'd probably be just 1 year while the Rangers kind of sort through their options to do it themselves. But it seems like the Rangers are going to be going out on their own with this and distributing their own games.
Right. And then let's do a little update. There's not too much to say, but injuries. Adolis Garcia with the knee.
Yeah, I checked in.
Nothing new there.
I checked in this morning via the text with Chris Young and asked about that, because we hadn't heard anything about it since last week, and he said there's still nothing new on there. So again, at the time last week, they thought he'd be able to avoid surgery and just do rest and strengthening the knee. So yeah, you never want to have surgery, even if it's just a little scope. That's still 2 or 3 weeks. It's going to cost you not being able to do anything. So we'll see about that. Hopefully you hear that soon. Josh Young is probably due for a scan here pretty soon on the wrist, but again, they think he's going to be able to avoid surgery. Corey Seager has a jet setting off in Europe, so he's still early in
recovering gracefully.
I'm sure he might be doing some exercises that he can do on his own. There's all kinds of core things that you can do that don't require the attention of an athletic trainer. But I think the Rangers were fortunate enough. Nobody that I can think of off the top of my head is going into the offseason with
needing a surgery,
a need for an operation. And again, after last offseason being shortened, these guys need time to rest and recover. But at the same time, you're probably after this week, going into next week is probably when guys are going to be going back into the gym. So,
do you think Jonah Heim needs to be evaluated any? Does he?
No,
really just need some rest?
He just needs rest and recovery, and the wrist apparently that everybody thought was going to need surgery last offseason does not need surgery still. So if he can just rest and recover and get his legs back from under him and get his legs back under him, and spend some time with the new boy Champ, and get that not out of his system but into his system, and go from there. But yeah, I think knock on wood, which is right there. I can't reach it. The Rangers are. Elijah did it. The Rangers are in good shape on the medical side.
Sounds good. We're going to have updates as they come, of course. Next up, we're going to be talking about the National League. 2 games, big games today. We mentioned that the series are split, so a lot can happen over these next few days with the postseason, but that is coming up on the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
It's vacation time for a lot of these Rangers. Not everybody's going to jet off to Europe like Corey Seager, and you might need to pack a cooler. So how better to load up the family truckster than with Rugged Road. Rugged Road is dedicated to creating innovative and durable outdoor gear for adventurers who demand the best, highest quality materials and craftsmanship, ensuring that these things can weather the toughest conditions. This cooler that's sitting over by Abby, it can float, it's lightweight, it's durable and dependable, and you can do anything with it. You can take it outdoors, from fishing to tubing to camping to tailgating. You can take it to the ballpark for a fall ball with your kid like the Wilsons do with theirs. So gear up for your next adventure with Rugged Road coolers. Reliable, durable, built to be used. Rugged Road is your ultimate outdoor companion. Head to ruggedroadoutdoors.com and use the code DLLS for 10% off.
And next, my favorite, Game Time.
Game Time.
Seriously, it's the best place to get your tickets. They have last-minute options. Actually, I have a friend coming from Alabama, and she wants to go to a Cowboys game, the Eagles game. So it's
tough
those
ticket.
are high demand.
Yeah.
She said, "What's the standing room like? Like, where should I? This is a real life situation. Like, how do I go about tickets?" And I said, "Do I know a place for you?"
That's
You
right.
need to go to Game Time because they have the panoramic view, so you can actually see where you're going to sit before you even buy the ticket. I don't know if you've ever sat in front of a foul pole, but not the case with a football game by any means. But you can just be sure that you are going to get the seat that you want to catch those games, like Cowboys, Eagles, and playoff games and more. They have low prices, money back guarantee. So our friends are going to give you $20 off. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code DLLS. All right, now time to get into the games today.
Yeah.
National League. Let's see what Pete Alonso is bringing to Citi Field. There you go. Rally Pumpkin.
A rally pumpkin. I like it.
They're gonna need it. This is their first time back since September 22nd, 16 days.
Yeah, we kind of talked about it yesterday. That their journey has been very similar to what the Rangers went through last year, finishing on the road, and then going out and having to earn your playoff spot, and then as a wild card team having to spend extra time on the road. Their last home game in the regular season was September 22nd. Oddly enough, it was against the Phillies. It was a 2-1 win on Sunday Night Baseball. So they're home again against the Phillies on Wednesday Night Baseball. So yeah, they've been gone for, what did you say, 16 days?
16 days.
That's more than 2 weeks if my math holds correct there. And so it'll be nice for them to get home. The Mets fans are going to be eager to cheer on their club. And it's an interesting mound matchup. Aaron Nola for the Phillies against Sean Manaea, who Rangers fans are familiar from all of his days with the Oakland A's. Big left-hander with some deception. Occasionally will lose track of the strike zone, which can be a problem. But he's big and comes from all these crazy angles. So Nola is more of the traditional right-hander strike thrower. Can have some power stuff at time. Not quite as good a season this year as he had last year before he signed the big 7-year deal in the offseason, but a guy that the Phillies have hitched their wagon to along with Zach Wheeler. So, but the problem with this series, at least pitching-wise, hasn't been the rotation. It's been the bullpen. The bullpens have been really, really bad. So
really bad.
You wonder if that tide will change with the off day. The Mets badly needed the off day, and because they only had the one off day, but after playing 12 probably days in a row and and traveling and all that stuff. So be interesting to see how they respond to that, how they respond to being at home, what the crowd's like, what the weather's like. I haven't looked, but it's always harder to hit in the off season because it's generally cooler, weather-wise. But I don't know. I think if you're leaning on the starting pitching, I think that's a Phillies advantage. But again, with the way the bullpens have pitched, it doesn't seem like anybody has or it doesn't matter what happens in the rotation.
Right, because also the Mets are one of the best comeback teams in baseball. Late heroics, I think, are a theme of the Mets and the Phillies as well. You saw that in Game 1 when the Mets won and Pete Alonso hit the home run heard round the world, and then Castellanos in Game 2 with the walk-off. 9 of the 17 games this postseason have featured comeback victories, and the Mets have been involved 5 of those 8. So it just seems like the Mets really like to test your blood pressure.
Yeah,
watching their games.
It's they have one of the more memorable comebacks in postseason history when in Game 6 of the '86 World Series, Bill Buckner missed the ball that went through his legs and all of that. That allowed the winning run to score. They'd already tied the game, and it just. The amazing Mets of '69. They didn't really have to come from behind in the World Series at least to knock off the Orioles. But although there was one game where very famously there was a big 3-run homer that put the Mets into the lead. Anyway, it's an interesting series. These two teams know each other really well. They play 13 times a year. Manaea is kind of the wild card, in my opinion, but. I don't know. I still think the Phillies win the series. They're just the better team. But, as the Rangers showed last year, it's the team that's hot that can really do the most. And it's the best team right now, not necessarily the best team overall or on paper.
Right. And Aaron Nola has a lot of experience against the Mets. In 28 appearances, he's got a 3.4 ERA, 205 strikeouts.
Yeah, that's a lot of appearances. But again, that's because they're division rivals and play each other so much.
Yeah. Bryce Harper reached base 6 for 9 in plate appearances this postseason. Phillies are 11-0 when he homers.
Wow.
So that's a fun little stat. I guess if you're a Phillies fan, you're hoping that he homers.
That's right.
But no, the bullpen has definitely been a problem for Philly. They have a 7.5 bullpen in their last 7 games.
7.5 ERA. Yeah.
Yeah.
They really upgraded at the trade deadline with Carlos Estevez and a trade with the Angels. You just got to get the game to him because he's pretty solid, and he's an enticing free agent this offseason for a lot of teams.
And one thing I know you really like the Mets closer, Diaz.
Diaz, yes.
Yeah. And lifetime he's got a 6.4 ERA and 6 blown saves against the Phillies. So I just thought his game the other night was out of character for him. I guess not with the Phillies record when you consider it, but that was a surprising game that he got pulled as well.
It's pretty. Speaking of Diaz, this is pretty funny. It's not funny because he missed almost all of last season, or maybe all of it, with a knee injury that was suffered when Puerto Rico won a game in the World Baseball Classic to advance, and they were celebrating. And in the dog pile, he tore his knee ligament. So the other day against the Brewers when they won, he just kind of walked out and stayed on the outside of the dog pile, and he was like, I'm not getting into that mess again. Yeah, but he came up with the Mariners and was hot and then cold and hot and cold. And I guess that's what happens with a lot of closers. But he comes out to that trumpet song and it fires up the crowd and throws hard. And but yeah, that's interesting against the Phillies. And then. But yeah, these guys are rivals, and then so are the Dodgers and the Padres. The Dodgers-Giants rivalry, which dates all the way back to when the teams were in New York, gets more attention. But as we saw in Game 2, these teams don't like each other, and it kind of continued on the off day because the Dodgers found some video of Manny Machado throwing a ball toward their dugout, and at Dave Roberts allegedly. And so they sent the film to MLB, kind of tattling on Manny Machado. I mean, take care of this stuff yourself, all right? So we'll see what happens there. I can't imagine that Machado will get suspended. It's hard to prove his intent if this is what he was doing. But anyway, it seems like it's going to be a chippy series the rest of the way. And
It definitely will.
yeah. And I guess
Padres manager said, we're about to go back to San Diego with a very loud, aggressive, hungry crowd that's going to be super excited and going to get after it. But I know that we'll stay classy, San Diego. So he has a little Ron Burgundy to
there
him.
you go. Yeah, but in 2016, they had the All-Star game there. And I just remember how every they're hosting. They're the National League team and all this stuff. And every Dodgers player that was introduced got booed mercilessly. So there's definitely a hatred there. Walker Buehler against Michael King. Buehler is coming off of Tommy John surgery. Probably hasn't had the season that he would have liked.
Also coming off of being robbed.
Yeah.
He and
At
his
Santa
wife
Anita
were robbed.
went out to watch the ponies run and got robbed of a $100,000 watch and was not harmed. This was a couple days ago. It wasn't yesterday on the off day, but the news just came out. So he's had some time to get the jitters out, I guess, of being robbed. But again, as far as what's happened on the mound, he just hasn't been as good as he was pre-injury, which isn't unusual. But the Dodgers need him here in a big spot. And King has been fantastic. He was part of the Juan Soto trade and has been fabulous. He was really, really good in the wild card round.
2.9 ERA on the season.
Yeah, just a good find for the Padres. I mean, if you're going to trade Juan Soto, you need to get something really good back, and they did. So it'll be, I guess, on the if you again go back and look at the starters, I would say advantage Padres on this one. Even though Buehler's the veteran and has pitched in big games before, I'm still going to lean toward the Padres having the edge with the starting pitching. As far as the rest of the series or the rest of the other facets, bullpen, again, I think it's a Padres edge. The lineups are probably a push.
The Dodgers
go ahead.
don't have that much depth.
Yeah,
pitching.
Right, and then also it's really hard to replace Freddie Freeman at first base.
I was gonna say. So if he can't start today, Max Muncy could make his first start at first base since 2021.
Yeah, well, at least he's experienced there. And it's probably been a while since he's had to scoop a lot of balls. But, the Freddie Freeman thing, I think the expectation he's going to try to give it a go. He has a high ankle sprain, something that normally might take 6 weeks to recover. Well, they don't have 6 weeks, and he's not going to not play. They took him out of game 2. Really, when the game was still in doubt, it wasn't like they took him out once it got to 7-1. He was taken out early on in that game, so it was bugging him. So yeah, that's a storyline there too. But they still have the best player in the world. And they have a former MVP
Mr. Ohtani, who has success against King.
Okay.
Yeah, he's 6 for 14, 2 doubles and 3 homers against.
That's
King
pretty
in his
good.
Career.
Obviously, it's a small sample, but that's some serious butt kicking.
And
within
he
that
was
sample.
hitless in game 2, and he has been held hitless in consecutive games just once.
Really?
Over the
Wow.
past 2 months.
Well,
so
that's good stuff to
Ohtani
know.
is going to do Ohtani things.
So you're saying he's going to get a hit today?
I'd put money on it.
Okay.
I will say though, the Padres have won 4 of 5 against the Dodgers at Petco Park.
Okay.
So historically, they have a little bit more juice there. And when Michael King makes the start, the Padres have won all 3 of those against the Dodgers this season.
Huh. Well,
So,
there you
but
go.
you know what's interesting? This is kind of a repeat of the 2022 NLDS because it was a similar start. Angels won game 1, and then the Padres won game 2, and then took 3 and 4 San Diego advanced. So do you think history is going to repeat itself?
I mean, I like the Padres at the start of the series. The Dodgers kind of have a bugaboo about them here lately as far as advancing, and so yeah, I'll stick with my pick on that one. And I think they've played 3 of the past 5 division series. I know they played in 2020 when it was COVID because they were, the bubble. If the National League bubble was here at Globe Life Field. And they played, and the Dodgers took care of business pretty handily. Profar was on that team. Jace Tingler, who was a Rangers coach, that was his first year managing the Padres, and then he got let go the next year when things kind of fell apart on them. But that was an interesting time. I certainly remember that. And of course, the Dodgers ended up winning the championship series against the Braves in 7 games, the World Series in 6 against the Rays.
Man,
so they like the bubble. The bubble wasn't too bad for them.
What
but,
would baseball do if the Dodgers and the Yankees weren't in the?
Well, it would definitely be a disappointment. I mean,
I think you would lose every bandwagon baseball fan.
The commissioner would be turning tables over probably in New York in his offices. But that's the dream matchup.
Yeah.
At least from a ratings perspective, and look, with all these teams even, who knows what's going to happen? So, but I just thought the Padres were the better team.
Yeah.
Just with the bullpen and the way things were setting up, the Dodgers with their struggling rotation, and then with the Freddie Freeman injury, just seemed like things were kind of lining up against them.
Well, we had a special guest join us, Kevin, on the DLLS Mavs podcast. His sweet daughter, Victoria, 7 years old. We asked her to help us out with the picks today. So she's going with the Mets over the Phillies and then the Padres over the Dodgers. So
there you go.
We'll have to follow up tomorrow. And if she's a good luck charm, we might have her back on. But more coming up, a new exciting something's happening in Arlington.
Yeah, we can talk
today.
about
It's
that.
breaking news. So we will talk about that coming up on the DLLS Rangers Podcast. Well, do us a favor and go ahead and become a diehard, because Jeff released something behind the paywall today, and it's a great article. Ben said that he loved it, and he was a huge fan of it. So
Thanks, Ben.
you want to join the diehard level fandom because you pay $79 a year. You get a free t-shirt. You get 20% off of merch. You get 20% off of events. And when we go to spring training, you're going to want the discount. It's going to pay off. But you also just get exclusive content. You get to hang out and chat in the Discord lounge. So you guys can talk about whatever and keep these conversations going even after we are off the air. So do us a favor, become a diehard, be our best friend, and we'll love you for life.
You know, and I put my email address at the bottom of every story. That way, there's some accountability there. If you guys see something you don't like or have questions, you're more than welcome to email me. I'll respond unless you're a jerk, then I won't respond. But you guys aren't jerks. Not our loyal diehards. You're good people, and appreciate all the feedback that I can get, because we need to be held accountable, and oftentimes our readers are the best way to do that. And diehards are going to get access to all the stuff. You're also going to get access to a free shirt, and not just your first time signing up as a diehard, but every year you renew. Go to store.allcitynetwork.com. Check out our array of Ranger shirts. There are a lot of them. They're pretty sharp. They're in the mail, apparently.
Ooh.
In the mail. So anytime now, I will be modeling my 3 Ranger shirts, not at the same time. I also got the TCU shirt, which will be on part of the TCU podcast. All Horned Frogs podcast that I do every Wednesday.
That's coming tomorrow, by the way.
Yeah, we're trying to line up guests now. But anyway, lots of good things happening at DLLS and for diehards.
Join us. Join the fun. All right. Something pretty exciting is coming to Arlington. Everything's bigger in Texas, Jeff.
It is.
It is true. So press conference today was held. Indy Car.
Indy Car. Yeah. Okay.
The next big thing.
Well, yeah, it's coming in March of 2026, the Grand Prix of Arlington. There will be a road race through the streets of Arlington. It's going to be pretty awesome. My big break in journalism came as a motorsports writer. I was covering NASCAR as the backup to the legendary John Sturban at the Fort Worth newspaper. Sturb is awesome. He's from New York. He's a big Yankees fan. So, but anyway, when Texas Motor Speedway was in its formative years, they really latched on to the Indy Car series, which was in a big open wheel dispute with CART, the other sanctioning body for open wheel racing, and really IndyCar racing found a home in Fort Worth. And Eddie Gossage, who passed away recently, was instrumental in helping that series survive. Ultimately, the best race I've ever seen was at TMS open wheel IndyCar race. Fabulous race. Anyway, So now they're coming here in 2026, March of 2026. So spring training that won't interfere with any Rangers or Cowboys game day traffic. But it's a partnership between the Cowboys and the Rangers and Penske Racing. If you know anything about Roger Penske, he's won all kinds of titles and Indy 500s and just a great an icon in the sport. And he also has a NASCAR team too. So that's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I look forward to it. And but yeah, all kinds of stuff is coming to Arlington, whether it's rodeo or concerts. I think Pink is coming up here in a couple weeks, November 6th. Her rescheduled concert from either earlier in the year or last year. My wife had tickets and she got sick and had to cancel. So that's coming up. And then Lincoln Park on November 8th, which is also the day of the Do It or Dirt event, which is at Texas Live that everybody should go to. We'll have a lot more on Do It for Dirt coming up on this show and on the website. And then there's another concert the next night. Cody Johnson, who sang a great national anthem this year.
Better than somebody else's.
Exactly.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, and so this whole entertainment district with Globe Life Field in the heart of it, it's like, concerts, all kinds of events. It's how you pay for it. It's why they have artificial surface. And AT&T too has the big events. So, there's always something going on in Arlington, it seems like. And this race is going to be great because it's not going to be too hot. It'll be kind of lead the series into its it's in March. Then April they'll probably have a couple races, and then May is dedicated strictly to the Indy 500. But it'll be good. It'll be good. And then if you in the difference between a street race and an oval race is they actually turn right. The oval race you just go left in a circle. And these, you turn right and left, and you're racing through the streets. You've probably done it on the way to a ball game or running late to a kid's practice. Well, now you get to see the professionals do it.
So it's a 2.7-mile track layout. It's going to have 2 iconic sporting venues recognized by fans around the world, AT&T, and then Globe Life Field.
Yeah.
So that they are going to kind of be partners in hosting this event. They're going to sell 1.6 million tickets to speculators near and far.
Well, that's interesting. We'll see how it goes to pack the streets of Arlington. But
1.6, that's a lot. How many do you think were at the parade?
Well, they estimated between 500,000 and 750,000. I know people were lined up deep. I know the traffic getting out was rough.
And my
poor son got car sick and threw up.
That was like what, a Friday? I remember people were mad because it wasn't on the weekend.
World Series ended on a Wednesday. And then they went to off-day parade. So, yeah. But, a lot of school districts were let out. And then I think just a lot of kids said the hell with it, or their parents did, and said they're not going to go to school. Hey, this came across the email here at 11 minutes ago from Major League Baseball. MLB to produce and distribute local games for Guardians, Brewers, and Twins in 2025. Texas Rangers leaving Diamond Sports Group. It says MLB will produce and distribute local games for the Cleveland Guardians, Milwaukee Brewers, and Twins. The new arrangement will give fans more options to watch their favorite teams on TV or to stream digitally. In addition, the Texas Rangers have determined that they will no longer be partnering with Diamond Sports Group. That's a victory. And are considering their local media options for the 2025 season. So it sounds like what we were just talking about 30 minutes ago, if that, Rangers are going on their own. Mm-hmm. All right, so they've turned down the MLB offer. I guess it's probably still there if something doesn't happen. But so the Rangers are definitely going to go local. It depends on the format they're going to do it. So there's some breaking
news. That's our first breaking news in the podcast.
Very exciting. Yeah.
And that's why you listen to this podcast, because we literally talked about it prior to the segment.
That's right. Well, like I said, it's a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
Now the question is,
that's one of the reasons that a player didn't sign here last year. Not
allegedly,
crying about it because it worked out in the Rangers' favor, but it is something to consider.
Yeah, she's referencing Josh Hader, and It's also probably why Jordan Montgomery didn't pitch for the Rangers. And I saw something on my Twitter.
He got a free barbecue offer for life.
That's right.
Could have considered that a little bit more.
Yeah. I saw something on the old Twitter notifications from one of last week's show. A person, I think it was a guy, responding, why would the Rangers take on Jordan Montgomery after the year he had? And, you kind of got to put things into perspective here. If you give Jordan Montgomery a full offseason and a scenario in which he's happy mentally, obviously he wasn't happy with the way his offseason unfolded. If you give him a clean slate, I certainly think that Jordan Montgomery is going to perform better in 2025, knowing where he's going to be and all of that. If he declines the player option from the Diamondbacks, which I don't know that he's going to do, even though the owner doesn't want him back and has said so publicly, there might be more money out there for him if it were a multi-year deal, let's say 2 and 30, and over as opposed to 1 and 22.5. He might take that, or maybe he exercises the option and a trade is able to work. A trade can be worked out where the Diamondbacks eat a lot of the salary, which it seems at this point they'd be willing to do, and maybe a team can get Jordan Montgomery basically on the cheap. And again, if he's in a situation where he's going to be happy and what he knows what he's getting into and gets a full spring training, then you might be getting the Jordan Montgomery that for the first 7 years of his career, that was pretty good. So that's a response to that on Twitter. I didn't have enough words, I guess. So anyway, it's just an interesting time. All these off-season scenarios that can unfold. And again, you got to wait for free agency and all of that stuff. And
when do you think's the earliest that you could hear about the TV deal?
I mean, you'd hope it's any time. Last week when I had a chance to ask Ray Davis a question, and I said, how much time do you have? He said soon. So they want to know too. And if they have an idea, if they have sponsors lined up, I mean, if you go to a Rangers game, you look at that ballpark and you look at the outfield, there's all kinds of sponsors. You got to have one that carries a pretty big load, though. And you would think that the naming rights for the streaming service would be worth something. You would think that ownership would want to have its own stake in this and be able to make money off of that. And so we'll see how that works out. But it needs to be soon. But once you get the main advertisers, you'll be able to get your beer guy and your soft drink guy and maybe even an airline guy, and go to the money where the big money is and get them to be partners. It seems like this has a chance to potentially be a pretty lucrative situation, but also you got to line up the distributors. Mm-hmm. Who are the Comcast? Comcast is a cable guy. Verizon, Frontier. I don't know. I haven't had cable forever. But then DirecTV, and does Dish Network still exist? I don't know. And then all the streaming services. You want as many as you can get to give viewers as many options as possible. But also, if you're going to market your streaming too, you got to figure out a way to do that.
Well, when did the Astros switch?
It's been a couple of years, but yeah, they haven't had a good run. But they had a lot of games on Bally here recently because it was just blacked out in our area because of the territory. But if the Rangers didn't have a game, then we got Astros games on Bally, at least at the Wilson House on DirecTV Stream. That's what we use strictly because I needed to see the Rangers games when they're out of town or I'm off or whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a big mess, and I'm not a media expert, and really I know the Rangers had hired consultants to help get them through this. So hopefully everything is streamlined and things are coming together, and hopefully there is an announcement soon. Natalie, we got a couple questions. Natalie been asking about the bench the last couple days, but this is her. If Semien doesn't lead off, who will? I would say Josh Smith.
Unless the Rangers sign.
Unless the Rangers get somebody. But and then she also asked about the bench. Harris, Tavares, backup catcher, and somebody else. Duran. I don't know about Harris. I don't know about Harris. I know he only had 2 games.
Yeah, very small sample
He's
size.
a young guy. You want him to get regular at bats even still. I don't know about a third year at AAA. But anyway, that's a question. You'd like to see a veteran outfielder, a veteran catcher, and then a utility guy and blank. So a wild card. Maybe it is an extra outfielder like Taveras. All right.
Well, a lot more coming. John Radian, the one and only,
Coming home.
will be back. Excited to have him in the studio. But thanks so much for joining us today.
We all silly like the mayor.